Morning, everyone. We are going to be doing the end of suffering chant for the morning bell chant, which you can follow along on page 28 of your booklets. And just a reminder, after the morning bell chant, we observe normal silence until the end of service. May the sound of this bell penetrate into the cosmos. Even in the darkest spots, living beings are able to hear it clearly, so that all suffering in them ceases. Understanding comes from their heart, and they transcend the path of sorrow and death. The universal Dharma door is already open. The sound of the rising tide is heard clearly. The miracle happens. A beautiful child appears in the heart of the lotus flower. A single drop of this compassionate water is enough to bring back the refreshing spring to our mountains and rivers. Listening to the bell, I feel the afflictions in me beginning to dissolve. My mind clear, my body relaxed. A smile is born on my lips. Following the sound of the bell, my breath brings me back to the safe island of mindfulness. In the garden of my heart, the flowers of peace bloom beautifully.
I'd like to invite our incense lighters up. And if you can turn to page 2, about halfway down, we'll be doing the incense lighting gatha together. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Hello, everybody. My name is Shin. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm happy to see everybody here today. There's a lot of new people that I haven't met before, at least new to me. So I'm happy to see everybody here today. We're going to have a weird day today, or a different day today. Um, so even if you've been here a lot, this will be a new experience. So everybody's get something new today. Before we start, I just wanted to make some courtesy announcements. So, as a just a reminder, during the service, we ask that you don't walk in front of the dais. Although we're going to break that rule a little bit today, I'll tell you a little bit later. Also, if you are needing to use the restrooms, right across from that curtain, there are two restrooms. And then also downstairs, we have an additional restroom, and you can go right through those curtains there and find a stairway there as well. Also, if you need to step out for any reason, you need a breather, you need some quiet, you just need to reset yourself, get a drink of water, you can also go downstairs, and there's a space down there that you can hang out. There's a library too, so there might be some cool books in there. When we chant, we just ask that we chant together. So don't chant over or under anybody else. Some people say chant with a smile, but sometimes we have to chant with a frown on our face too. So whichever works for you. So why don't we stand and greet each other silently? And if you can turn your book to page 3, we're going to be doing our 3 refugees.
I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, and friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts.
And if you can turn to the next page, we have the Heart Sutra. Before we start, I'm going to change things up a little bit. I want everybody to think of one person in your life that's either living or dead, somebody that has been on your mind recently. And as we chant this, I want you to offer this to them, whether they're here with us or not.
compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, paramita. Receive the emptiness of all five skandhas and deliver all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna. Paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra.
Today is a holiday, kind of. We don't have a whole lot of uh, real festivals in Buddhism in the, I guess, Western sense, where we get to give gifts and celebrate. Um, Most of the way that we celebrate is just through meditative contemplation. Um, but Ulambana Day, also known as the Hungry Ghost Festival, is a little different. Um, it's the closest thing we get to a fun holiday. um, So I just want to talk about what it is, because many of you may not be aware of what exactly that we're commemorating or have never heard of that before. So I'll start from the beginning. The reason that we call it Ulaanbaatar Festival is because of the Ulaanbaatar Sutra, which is a story that was told about during the life of the Buddha. And so I'll tell you that story first, and we'll just start there. Um, So, the way the story goes is one of the disciples of the Buddha, which has a very long name that I will not try to pronounce in front of you, had achieved a certain level of awakening. And in the story, they achieved a level that was so advanced that they could enter the different realms of existence. And because this person, like many people, the time that were studying in monasteries was an orphan, they thought, now that I can explore these realms, I can finally try to find my parents who had passed away, and I'm going to see if I can find them. And so, during a time of meditation, this disciple found his mother in one of the hell realms. And when he found her, she was completely transformed into what's known as a hungry ghost. Um, so in Buddhism, this hungry ghost is somebody who is really working through their karma of non-attachment here. It's said that their skin is emaciated, they're completely turned into a demon-like entity who has tremendous hunger and thirst. Um, and so when he saw his mother there, transformed into this basically, creepy, scary ghost, he's like, I need to help you because you're my mom. And so he pulled out a bowl of rice to offer to his mother, saying, you look completely starving, ravenous. And as he handed his mother the rice, and as she took the first bite, it said that as soon as it touched her lips, it turned into hot coals and fire and started burning her. Her own sort of never ending grasping and hunger was the source of her suffering. And so, completely distraught, he ran to the Buddha and said, what can I do? My mother, is in the hell realm suffering. And even when I try to offer, food to her to try to help relieve that, it just turns into fire in her mouth. And the Buddha gives the most simple answer ever, which I really love. He says, if you want to help your parents, those living or dead, what you need to do is you need to offer an offering to the temple. And that's really the entire story. You think that there'd be something a little bit more fantastical. But I really like this one because in the line of work that I do, we like to think that if you have some sort of thing or behavior you're trying to get rid of, you need to find something to replace it with. You can't just tell somebody don't do this. You say, hey, how about we try something a little bit more skillful instead? I also like the idea that when you have something such as this never-ending hunger or thirst, the way to counteract that is to radically give away and show non-attachment to things. And so the Buddha's solution was very simple. There are people around you that you see suffering, living or dead. And the way to counteract that is that you need to give. You need to show your charity. And through that is how you relieve the suffering of others. And so it's a really simple concept, but that's how we approach this. And through that, there's been a lot of things that have sort of evolved in the way that we commemorate this day. The biggest one that you'll see across all cultures is this becomes a really huge festival of giving, of offering. not only to the people around us, but literal offerings to the dead, to the ghosts around us, um, to those who have passed, that we want to offer gifts to them to help relieve their suffering. Um, you can sum up Buddhism and how do we reduce suffering? Well, this is how do we reduce suffering in those who aren't with us anymore? How do we relieve suffering in the fact that we see suffering? How do we reduce suffering in the fact that those that I have loved are no longer with us? Um, and it seems a little too simple to be true, but sometimes the way to relieve suffering, especially when that suffering is tied to that never-ending hunger, that grasping, is just to live with a lot of gratitude. Um, there's some more stories around this. I really like how Buddhism looks at the afterlife. Um, for one thing, there are these sort of heaven and hell realms in Buddhism, but unlike a lot of other belief systems, they're not permanent. It's not a permanent sort of torturous place that you're sent because you didn't appease some god when you were alive. They're more of these places that are said that you go to work through some of your excess karma so that you can get ready to reincarnate or be born again. A lot of times the hell realms will be connected to things that you struggled with in your life. So, for instance, we saw the mother who was constantly hungering. The answer was to let go of this hunger, to be giving. I would like to think that the answer wasn't for the son to give his mother rice, but to tell his mother, you need to give the rice to somebody else. I would have imagined at that moment, perhaps she would have completely transformed. Who knows? That's my fan fiction. um, Another really cool thing is that it's said on Ulumbala Day, on the Hungry Ghost Festival Day, um, we have a fair economy here in Buddhism. Even the guardian of hell gets a day off. It's said that on this day, and the whole reason this is a thing is because the person who guards the hell realms gets one day off a year where they get to go and come down and offer their own offerings to the Buddha. And because he is gone, everybody in those hell realms gets to have basically a day off too, where they get to escape and come down to earth. So it's said that during this time, everybody in the afterlife can come back to earth and basically have a party. So a lot of things that they'll do is they'll have lots of entertainment and festivals. They'll do things that the people love to do in life to kind of celebrate them and say, hey, you get one day off. You get one day off a year from you trying to learn these lessons. Why don't you just come down and eat food and drink and have a fun time because you deserve it? Some things that they do too is when they have these big shows, they'll leave the first row completely empty. You don't have to move. I did reserve the last two seats here, and don't be freaked out, but there are probably a couple ghosts sitting there. Okay. um, a lot of times they'll also leave empty bowls out when they eat their festivals with some chopsticks sticking in, saying this is the food for the ghosts that are around us. It's said that this is a time of year when everybody gets to come back and that we get to be connected to these people around us. And then a lot of times what they'll do too is it's fire is kind of known as a way to offer up these things too. So they'll print a lot of it's called Josh paper or Josh money, or fake money. It's not real. And they'll burn it. And basically this is money that goes up to the spirits, so the ghosts have all the spending cash when they're trying to work through their karma in the afterlife. There are some practical ways to celebrate this though that I think can be really healing. Offering up offerings to the dead, I think, is one way to do that. But also, I think it's encouraged to do the things that the people that are no longer with us love to do. So if you have somebody who passed that had a favorite movie or a favorite music that they like to listen to or a favorite meal, go out and do that for them. Um, Offer that to them. Offer them to come back and they're one day off a year and do that with you. I think it's a really good way to honor somebody is to not so much mourn over them, but celebrate with them. There is a little bit of a macabre to this time of year, but it's also a sort of a break from all the kind of suffering and lesson learning and be like, you know what? I'm just going to celebrate with you, even if you're not here anymore. And we're going to do the things that you love to do. Another sort of oddity about this time of year is probably the place in the world where it's celebrated the most is China. And as I was kind of doing some research on this, there's this puzzling thing that a lot of anthropologists were coming across where China is, I believe, ranked third in the largest atheistic, non-religious affiliated countries in the world. Um, Yet every year they have this giant festival where they all agree that we believe in ghosts. And I think there's a lesson there because I don't necessarily think you have to believe in ghosts to celebrate this day. I don't necessarily believe that you need to believe that there are hell realms and heaven realms and reincarnations to celebrate this day. Because every day of year, we have millions, billions of atheists that all decide, you know what? I'm not going to believe in ghosts this today, but I'm going to act as if ghosts are real. Maybe just because it's fun. But also, I think it's more of the ritual that's important. It's the lessons that we pull out of it. Um, the question isn't, is reincarnation real? The question isn't, are there hell realms? The question isn't, are there ghosts around us today? The question is, does acting as if there are make me a more compassionate person? Does this sort of ritual and dance and play around ghosts help with your suffering? Does it help process the grief that you're going through? Does the idea that giving when you see suffering, does that help to make the world a better place? So if you believe in ghosts, if you believe in reincarnation, well, today's your day. Great. If you don't, great. Let's pretend together and let's see if there's something that we can get out of it. So we're going to do something a little bit different today. Um, as you know, we are having a potluck as well today. Again, celebration and eating food is a big part of this day too. Um, but I'm also going to offer some stuff from my own tradition too. Um, when I received my vows to become a priest, I was given a really cool book of evocations, which sounds way cooler than it is. Um, but there's a service in here that is the service for the spirits of the place. Um, and so I'm going to offer all of us to be able to kind of participate in welcoming the ghosts around us. So we have a shrine over here, the Jizo shrine, and traditionally this is where we honor those who have passed. Um, on the shrine, I have hopefully enough, and I'm going to, if we start running, I'm going to make you responsible, okay? If we start running low, there's more paper downstairs, and maybe we can grab some and we can improvise. Hopefully, we have enough though. I'm also going to ask in a moment, not yet, that we go and offer another stick of incense on the Jizo shrine. Um, I have these strips of paper and I also have a red marker with red ink. Red is very important. For one thing, it's said that around this time of year, wearing black or red helps invite the spirits, for better or for worse. But also, we use red in our documents as in the Zen practice to represent sort of bloodlines and connections. So, for instance, when I took my vows, I had to write the names of my teacher, my teacher's teacher, my teacher's teacher's teacher, all the way back to the Buddha, which is kind of cool that I get to be part of a lineage that can connect itself all the way back. And once I wrote all those names, I took red ink and I made a line connecting all the names all the way down to my name and then back around. So when we write the names that we're going to write in red ink, we're not just remembering them, but remembering how they're connected to us. It could be through literal blood. We could be writing the names of our parents, our siblings, our kids, our grandparents who are not with us anymore. Or it could be that connection just through life, through the fact that you had a really strong connection with these people. Or maybe it's somebody you've never met, but that connection, maybe through the things that they did or the words that they said, have connected you. We're going to take a piece of paper and I want you to write a name on there. And you can use more than one piece of paper. I don't think we're low on paper. Um, feel free to do more than one. If there's somebody that has passed in your life that you would like to invite into this space again, then write that. If there's somebody that maybe you've never met, but they're a really important figure in your sort of sense of the world that you want to remember that's no longer with us, write that name. We're also not speciesist here. Maybe there's a dog or a cat that's no longer with you. I will tell you that I cried more over my cat that passed away a few years ago than I ever did over my grandmother who passed away. Don't tell my grandmother; she's sitting right there. But it's sometimes I think it's harder because there's a sense of community around the people that pass. There's a sort of cultural expectation that this is a big event. But when it's a pet that really the only people who knew that pet were you, maybe the people in your house, and you saw them every single day, which is a hell of a lot more than time than I spent with my mother. um, and that's almost a grief that you have to kind of go through by yourself. And the people around you may not also, they may not acknowledge that. So I hope that there are some animal names that are written down today as well. What I would like is when we start this, you write as many names as you'd like on these pieces of paper, and then you can fold them up. And then I want you to walk over to this crystal bowl that we have here, and you can drop the name in the bowl, and then I'd like you to hit the bowl once for them. This is a special bowl here. It was actually donated in memory of Linda Joy, I believe is their name. And I wrote their name on a piece of paper, and I started before everybody, sorry. But it was donated to our temple in memory of this person who was one of the original members at our temple, who's no longer with us. And so this bowl has some significance to the temple as well. And I think it's a way to sort of honor even the people within our own Sangha who are no longer with us. As we do this, I'm going to be chanting two separate sutras. These are ones that are offered around this time. One of them is known as the Enmai Juko Kanen Gyo. Spoiler alert, both of the chantings that I'll be doing are going to be in Japanese, so you won't necessarily understand what I'm saying, but I would like you to know what I'm saying because to sort of erase any sort of I just want you to be in on the joke. I'll say that. So let me look at this one really quick, and I will tell you what this one is. So the Enmai Juko Kanen Gyo, I really love. It's one of my favorite sutras, and it's usually chanted in times of hardship or grief. And it's really cool because in a lot of traditions, when we are offering, let's say, prayers, it's very asking for something. I remember being a child and learning how to pray to Jesus or God, and it's always like, well, why don't you ask for this thing to happen or this thing to change? In Buddhism, that's a little bit different. It's more of asking for acceptance in a way. And in this verse, we're simply offering praise to Buddha and to Kanzeon, Guan Yin or Avalokitesvara, who we have on the far altar there, who is the embodiment of compassion. So instead of asking, I want my grief to go away, or I want this person to be okay, it's simply saying, in this time of hardship, all I need is compassion in whatever form that needs to take, which can be different for different situations. And so it's basically a prayer for compassion. The other one that I will be chanting is Shosai Mikochiji Dorani. Again, I've got a lot on here, so I got to make sure that I find them all. And this is, as I find it, this is the chant for the removal of great disaster. We chant this when there's been a great disaster. Think of like an earthquake or a flood. Keep in mind that these are chants that we are offering to the people that you are evoking. So when we have people that have passed, what do we want for them? We want them to find compassion, and we want them to be okay in whatever disaster that they've gone through. And last I checked, dying's a pretty big disaster in your life. I've never done it, but I've heard. And so those are the two chants that I'm going to offer up to the people that we write down. When we're done, I'll give one more evocation just to invite the spirits here to find some peace. And I hope that you find some healing and compassion in this. So that we're not all running up and we have some order here, First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have Justin to offer some incense. And I'm also going to have you kind of stand by the altar just to make things are running smoothly. I would like everybody to line up and come from this side. And the first, we'll make a line and we'll have you hit the altar, pick up a paper or two or three, doesn't matter. Take the red pen and I want you to write a name. Fold the paper. Once you have that name folded, I want you to come to this bell and you can drop the name in the bell and then give it a ring for each name that you'd like. And this is a way to offer up that relief of suffering to these people. Sound good? Okay. Why don't we start with the lighting of the altar? And if you can stand. Yes. And why don't we make a line here and I will begin. Enmai Juko Kanyen Go Kanze Namu Butsu Yo Butsu In Yo Butsu En Bu Oso enjo raku ga jochonen kanzeyan bonen kanzeyan yen jushin ki yen furi shin kanzeyan namu butsu yobutsu en yobutsu en buposo en joraku ga jochonen kanzeyan nonen kanzeyan yen jushin ki yen furishi kanzeyan nambu butsu yo butsu yuen yo butsu yuen buposo en joraku gajo chonen kanzeyan bonen kanzeyon yen jushin ki yen furi shin shen kanzeyon nomu butsu yobutsu yuen buposo en joraku gyajo choken kanzeyan bonen kanzeyan yen jushin ki yen furishin kanzeyan namu butsu yuen yobutsu yuen buposo en joraku ga jochonen kanzeyan Bonen kanze yan yen yen ju shin ki nyen furi shin kanze yan namu butsu yo butsu yo en Mukpo so en joraku ga yo jen yen kanze yan bonen kanze yan yen yen ji shin ki yen yen fori shi kanze yam namo butsu yo en Bukpo so en joraku ga jocho nen kanze yan bonen kanze yan yen ji shin ki yen furi shin kanze yan namo butsu yo en Oso en joraku ga jocho nen kanze yan bonen kanze yan nyen ji shin ki nyen fori shin kanze yan namu butsu yo butsu yo en Oso en joraku ga jocho nen kanze yan bonen kanze yan yen ju shin ki yen fuji shi. Shosai myoki chi jodorani. No mo san mada motonan norachi koto sha sononan toji tuen gya ki om nan shifura hara shifura chishuri sowaja shenchi ya shirie somoko no mo san mada motonan ora chi koto sha sononan tuji to em gya ki onan shifura hara shifura chishuri sowaja senchi ga shirie somoka no mo san mada motonan ora chi koto sha sononan toji to en ga ki gyaki nan shifura shifura hara shifura hara shifura chishusa chishusha chishuri chishuri soja soja senchi kya shirie somoko no man sanda motonan orachi kotosha sononan toji toen gya 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 ki onan shifura shifura hara shufura hara shifura Chishusha, Chishusha, Chishuri, Chishuri, Soajo, Soaja, Sanchinga, Shirie, Somoko, Nomo Sanmada, Motonan, Orachi, Kotosha, Sononan, Tojito, Gyaki onam shifura shifura hara shifura hara shifura chishusa chishusha chishuri chishuri soaja soaja senchigya shirie motoko no mo sanmada motonan orachi kotosha sononan toji toen ya ki Unan shifura shifura hara shifura hara shifura chishusha chishusha chishuri chishuri soaja soaja semchigya shirie somoka Nomo sanmada motonan orachi kotosha sononan tojitu gyaki onan shifura shifura hara shifura hara shifura chishusha chishusha chushuri Chishuri soaja soja semchi ga shirie momoko no man san mada motonan orachi kotosha sononan toji toen gyaki Unan shifura shifura hara shifura hara shifura chishusa chishusa chishuri chishuri soaja soaja senchi ga shirie somoko Then my Juku Kanyan go. 간세양 나무 보츠요 보츠요 엔요 보츠요 엔 무보소 엔조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 모넨 간세양 옌옌 주신 기옌옌 furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠엔 북보소엠 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년년지신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년년지신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년년주신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년진진긴 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년년주신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년년지신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년년지신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 보넨 간세양 년년지신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠엔 요복은 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 몸낸 간세양 년년지신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조라쿠가 조초넨 간세양 몸낸 간세양 년년주신기 년년furishin 간세양 나무 부츠요 부츠요 엔요 부츠요 엔 북보소엔 조